Welcome to our channel where we break down and discuss cases and concerns as it relates to sports law, governance and regulation, transgender rights or wrong. Bruce, now Caitlyn Jenner, won a gold medal in the men's decathlon at the 1976 Olympic Games. However, she's perhaps now better known for coming out as transgender a few years ago. In doing so, she highlighted an issue that the sports world has been grappling with for the past few years, and that is how to deal with the participation of trans athletes in sport. Now, this is a live issue from grassroots right up to the elite level. For example, in March 2022, Lia Thomas became the first transgender woman to win at the US College Swimming Championships. As society continues to question and debate more the distinction between sex and gender and the traditional binary classification of each, i.e. male or female sex and man or woman gender, sport as the world's biggest hobby is therefore a natural home ground for this debate. So let's look at some of the different approaches taken by sports governing bodies with respect to transgender athletes and consider some of the issues which these governing bodies face. Why are sports regulating trans athletes? There are many reasons for the regulation of trans athletes in sports, but for the purpose of this video, we will cover the main reason, which is because of sporting competition, male and female categories. Sporting competition has always been divided into male and female categories at adult stage. However, evidence suggests that prior to puberty, when male and female testosterone levels are similar, there is little physical difference between the sexes, and so you often see mixed sex sport being permitted, such as in football, where the Football Association allows mixed football up until age 18. Applying the same thought process regarding puberty and testosterone, other governing bodies such as World Rugby allow individuals who have undergone female to male sex reassignment before puberty to participate as males, and individuals who have undergone male to female sex reassignment before puberty to participate as females without restriction. So accordingly, there should be little issue regarding the participation of trans athletes in line with their gender identity at pre-puberty stage. On the contrary, the historic division of competition into male and female categories raises various issues when it comes to trans athlete participation post-puberty or at adult stage. After the onset of puberty, men generally produce 20 times more testosterone than women of any age. This means that men or adult males enjoy physical advantages over women or adult females. This raises concerns over the fairness and safety in relation to the participation of trans athletes in line with their gender identity, particularly when an individual who is transitioning from male to female might have an unfair performance advantage over other women. And indeed, those that were unhappy with Lia Thomas's inclusion and victory in a women's category event pointed to this unfair physical advantage to support their stance. How do sports governing bodies mitigate? Well, to mitigate these advantages, sports governing bodies, including cycling and swimming in the case of Lia, require trans women to reduce their testosterone levels. Now, this is unfair on athletes who may not wish to be subject to such treatment for non-medical reasons, and also highlights a misplaced fixation with testosterone. Studies show that trans women who have transitioned after puberty retain many advantages of a male physique despite testosterone reduction. Even with a reduction in testosterone to normal female levels, a trans woman would still have greater levels of strength and muscle mass. These concerns are heightened for combat sports where there is an intrinsic risk of harm. Now, an example would be if you imagine that Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury, both over 6 foot 5 inches tall and 250 pounds in weight, world heavyweight boxing champions were to transition from male to female and then be permitted to have boxing fights against women boxers. Let's say they did have their testosterone reduced. You'd probably say they'd still have a physical advantage over the women boxers that they'd be fighting. On the other side, an individual transitioning from male to female might be thought to be at a disadvantage themselves compared to other men, which raises safety concerns in relation to their own participation if they were to partake. So as you can see, it is a delicate topic and sports governing bodies have to decide how best to address these difficult issues. Solutions. So what are some of the solutions that have been considered in the sports industry? Well, one suggested solution is to have an open category for all athletes, irrespective of sex or gender, together with a protected sex-based women's category. Now, this is not perfect. It would disadvantage trans women who lose some of their male advantage in transition, and women's sport may end up seeming like a secondary sporting category. Some point to the fact that there are only a few trans athletes and dismiss the worries as overblown hysteria, as trans athletes are far from taking over sport and are actually underrepresented. Sure, but tell that to Emma Wayant, the silver medalist who missed out on gold, to trans women athlete Leah Thomas. Fact is, many athletes, and in particular women athletes, work their lives to compete and be victorious in their dream sports, and can end up having those dreams crushed because of unfair advantages that trans athletes will have over them. But ultimately, it isn't a question of numbers, but of formulating principles and policies that welcome trans athletes without undermining sex-based categories in sport. So how does human rights law fit into the debate? Some argue that any restrictions on trans athletes taking part in women's sports are transphobic because they suggest that trans women are not women. However, this objection fails to distinguish between sex and gender, which would be a fundamental issue and the crux of any policy that sports governing bodies devise to grapple with the issue of trans athletes in sports. What does the law require? The starting point in discrimination law terms is the Equality Act 2010. The Act prohibits various forms of discrimination on the basis of sex or gender reassignment, but sets out exemptions for sporting activities, in which the physical strength, stamina or physique of average persons of one sex would put them at a disadvantage compared to average persons of the other sex as competitors in events involving the activity. So that covers most sports. And so it means that it is lawful to restrict the participation of people undergoing gender reassignment if it is necessary to secure fair competition or the safety of competitors. There are some points to consider. Firstly, the Act doesn't protect everyone who may consider themselves trans or non-binary, only those who have undergone, are undergoing, or plan to undergo gender reassignment. This doesn't always require surgery. Second, in discrimination law, necessary usually means that there is no less discriminatory alternative to achieve the desired result. So any restrictions by sports governing bodies would need clear justification backed up by evidence. Finally, what constitutes fair and safe in the sporting context is not a straightforward issue. All sport involves risk to the participants, particularly contact sports, so there would need to be clear evidence of additional risks going beyond what is reasonable for the sport in order to justify restrictions. So in conclusion, the regulation of trans athletes in sport will continue to be a complex and at times divisive topic. There will be opposers on all sides of the debate, and whilst proposing sex-based categories in sport is not in and of itself discrimination, sports governing bodies should work their way through these conundrums with open discussion to come to an equitable solution. But an equitable solution not just for trans athletes, but also for the non-trans athletes, as whilst a concerted effort to not discriminate against one group is made, an unintentional act of discrimination against the other group can occur. Thank you for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it or found some value in it in any way, please be sure to like, comment and subscribe and share with a friend. And with that, we'll see you on the next one. Take care.